April 8th, 1944, 5:17 hours. A gray dawn seeps over the English Channel as waves slap cold and hollow against a line of steel monsters moored off the coast of southern England. On the deck of one of them, a Churchill tank stripped of dignity and covered in crude weld scars. A group of Royal Engineers are laughing so hard they can barely stand, because bolted to the front of this tank is something that looks less like a weapon of war and more like a drunk farmer's bad idea. A giant spinning drum, chains dangling from it like some deranged threshing machine. It is, to every eye on that pier, an absurdity. And standing beside it, collar up against the wind, is the man responsible. Major General Percy Stanley Hobart. 60 years old, spectacles smudged from an all-nighter in the shed they generously call a workshop, watching as his latest foolish contraption is prepared for one last trial before the invasion of Hitler's fortress Europe. No one here knows the exact date of that invasion yet. They only know this: if this idiotic, farm tractor-inspired device fails, thousands of men will walk into minefields on the beaches of Normandy and never walk out again. The starter whines. The Churchill's engine coughs to life. The drum starts to turn, slowly at first, then faster and faster. The chains lift, stretch, and then slam into the ground with a rhythm that sounds like artillery falling in reverse. Dirt and pebbles leap into the air, bouncing off helmets. The laughter on the pier dies as quickly as it began. One captain leans to another and shouts over the metallic thunder. This is bloody insane. A moment later, 50 yards ahead of the lumbering tank, the earth erupts in a sudden geyser of fire and smoke. A mine. And another. Then another. The tank keeps grinding forward, the chains whipping the ground into submission, detonating every hidden charge before the treads ever reach them. On the pier, the same men who laughed now stare in stunned silence, because in front of their eyes, the farmer's tractor mod has just done something no amount of sand table planning, staff college theory, or high command optimism had ever truly solved. It has beaten the German minefield. And in 2 months' time, on the blood-soaked beaches of Normandy, that ridiculous contraption will save more lives than any beautiful plan ever could. You can almost hear the chains still whipping the air as the Churchill rumbles to a halt, dust settling like a veil over the detonated craters. Major General Percy Hobart wipes his spectacles on his sleeve, his face unreadable behind the lenses. But those eyes sharp as bayonets have seen this moment coming for years. Hobart wasn't born to tanks. He was forged in them. A Royal Engineer from India, straight out of Woolwich in 1904, who fought through the mud of France and the sands of Mesopotamia in the Great War. By the 1930s, while cavalry snobs still clung to horses, Hobart devoured the radical theories of B.H. Littlehart and saw the future. Armor that didn't just charge, but adapted, conquered. He built Britain's first permanent armored brigade in 1934, fought tooth and nail for funding against brass, who called his ideas dangerous nonsense. Even Heinz Guderian, the father of the Blitzkrieg, had his works translated Hobart's vision, echoed across the Channel, fueling the panzers that would nearly crush Britain. But home soil turned venomous. In 1940, General Wavell shoved him into retirement. Too old, too outspoken, too unconventional. At 55, Hobart traded his pips for a lance corporal's armband in the Home Guard, fortifying his village of Chipping Campden with tripwires and spite. Churchill wouldn't have it. Notified by Littlehart's furious Sunday pictorial article, the Prime Minister roared Hobart back to active duty over Brooke's protests. Give the man a division, he demanded. That division became the 79th Armored. And its soul? Hobart himself. The Dieppe raid in 42 lit the fuse. August 19th, Canadian and British lads slaughtered on French Pebbles tanks bogged, mines ripping hulls apart, concrete teeth-shredding landing craft. Over 4,000 casualties in hours. Regular armor? Useless? Infantry? Slaughter. Hobart watched the reports and knew Normandy would be Dieppe 10 times unless someone built tanks for the impossible. Not Hobart's brainchild, alone that honor goes to a South African captain, Abraham du Toit, who sketched chains on a tractor drum in the desert, pounding North African mines to dust. Du Toit shipped his prototype to England. Hobart saw it, tested it, perfected it, bolted to a Matilda, then a Sherman becoming the Crab. A spinning rotor ahead of the treads, chains tipped with steel weights slamming the earth at 140 RPM. Engineers laughed at first. Looks like a farmer's folly. Hobart didn't. He multiplied it. Avra Churchills spitting 40-pound flying dustbins at bunkers. Crocodiles belching flame 120 yards. ARKs turning tanks into bridges. Bobbins unrolling paths over sand. By February 44, Hobart demonstrated his menagerie to Monty, his own brother-in-law, and Eisenhower. Monty grinned. Ike nodded. Even Omar Bradley begged for 25 crabs and 100 crocodiles. But production lagged. Training rushed. Americans balked at the zoo logistics nightmare, they said. Stuck to DDs and dosers. Hobart trained anyway. Pushed anyway. 79th crews became wizards of the weird. Black Bull insignias gleaming on hulls that looked like they crawled from a mad inventor's dream. As the armada gathered in the Solent, Hobart paced the docks, cigar clenched. Overlord loomed. 5 beaches. 156,000 men. Hitler's Atlantic Wall, bristling with 6 million mines, tetrahedrons, hedgehogs, gun pits. Gold, Juno, sword. British and Canadian beaches would get the funnies. Omaha? Prey. On the eve, Hobart gathered his officers. Tomorrow, he said, voice like gravel, we don't just land. We claw our way in. What those boys didn't know, what no one knew, was how many would live because of that farmer's drum. Or how Omaha's bloodbath would whisper. Hobart was right all along. June 6, 1944. 0710 hours. H hour plus 40 minutes. Gold Beach, Normandy. The skies a bruise of smoke and tracer fire. The channel frothing with wreckage and blood. LCA's bucklet Broncos. Ramps slamming down into surf laced with diesel and diesel-soaked corpses. Private Tommy Wilkins, 1st Dorsets, grips his Sten gun. Salt spray, stinging eyes wide with the terror only a 19-year-old knows. He stumbles onto pebbled hell, boots crunching teller mines disguised as stones. Ahead, Rommel's nightmare garden. Element C hedgehogs, cruciform steel beasts, 8 feet tall, mines dangling from every angle. Belgian gates, 10-ton steel frames topped with teller charges. Hembocken logs, telephone pole thick, rammed vertical with S-mines waiting to leap and shred. Tetrahedrons below the tide line, Belgian gates above. 6 million anti-tank and personnel mines sown like deadly seed. Rommel's genius. Inspected February 44, he'd vowed no repeat of Dieppe. The war will be won or lost on the beaches. Every obstacle a craft killer, every mine a troop shredder. High tide or low, no landing craft would survive intact. But then, from the smoke, it lumbers. Sergeant Bill Cotton, 149th RAC, hunched in the turret of his Sherman Crab. Bombay Blitz, painted jaunty on the side. The flail drum spins at 140 revolutions a minute. 16 steel-armored chains whipping out 70 feet wide. Each weighted ball slams the sand like a hammer from hell. Boom, boom, boom. Crump. A teller mine erupts, showering Wilkins with harmless sand. Cotton's Crab advances, 3 miles an hour, relentless. The drum chews through concertina wire, flails apart hedgehogs, detonates shoe mines before they can pop. Behind it, white tape marks the path-safe corridor through death. On gold, 30 crabs hit at 0730. By 0800, lanes cleared. Infantry pours through. 50th Division links up by noon, 6 miles inland. Juno Beach. Lieutenant Leo Garipi's Crab leads the 6th Canadian Armored Regiment. Flail pounding. It shreds wire, gaps mines. Germans stood with mouths agape, he'd recalled. Tanks roll. Canadian seize Carpiquet by nightfall. Sword. 13th, 18th Hussars Crabs clear 90% of beach mines without a single flail loss. Crocodiles hose bunkers with 6 flame jets, 120 yards. AVREs blast, WN27 pillbox 250 dead defenders. 79th Funnies. 40 crabs, 36 crocodiles, 30 bobbins, 20 ARKs. Losses? Light? Impact? Cataclysmic. British beaches taken with 10% casualties. Contrast Omaha. American Dodgers drowned. DDs sink 27 of 29. No funnies. 2,400 casualties by noon. Blood running in rivers. Bradley weeps in his flagship. Our men are dying. Begs Brits for crabs. Too late? Utah? Luck and wind. But gold, Juno, Sword Hobart's folly turns the tide. By dusk, 156,000 ashore. Bridgehead holds. Cotton's crab grinds on, Shane's scarred but singing. He doesn't know it yet, but Rommel's wall is cracked. The farmer's mod has carved the first breach. What happens when those same crabs face bocage hell beyond the beaches? A revelation that will shock even Hobart. D+1, June 7th. Off Gold Beach, the sea heaves with the ghosts of sunken craft. Smoke chokes the horizon where Arromanches burns. Luftwaffe flares lighting the night like hellfire. But amid the chaos, funnies don't rest, they build. Lieutenant Commander John Hughes Hallett's dream. Mulberry Harbors. Artificial ports to land the 12,000 tons of supplies daily Overlord demands. No funnies, no Mulberry. AVREs and ARCs make it real. Churchill Arcs Assault Regiment Royal something or other? No. Armored ramp carrier fascines of wood contractways strapped like giant cigars. Crew welds them shut, drives into surf, halts, blows the ends, unfurls 30-foot ramps over gaps. Phoenix caisson 7,500-ton concrete hulk stowed in, bridged by arcs. By D+12, Mulberry A at Arromanches pumps 6,000 tons a day. Spud's mobile piers rise on legs, cranes swinging. Bobbins lay reel after reel of matting over sand, tanks rolling firm where men once drowned. An east wind hits. June 19th. Mulberry A survives. Omaha's gooseberry shatters. British logistics hold thanks to Hobart. But beaches conquered, the real meat grinder awaits. Bocage. Normandy's hedgerows millennia-old earth banks, 12 feet high, roots like tank tracks, brambles thick as wire. 14 per kilometer. Fields turned kill zones. Panzers lurk unseen, 88s punch from shadows. Sherman's charge. Flip. Die. Curtis Coolin, Yank Sergeant, welds steel tusks from beach-scrapped rhino tanks. But Brits? Funnies adapt. Crabs return. Flails chew bocage roots, drum mulching earth banks to dust. Sergeant Ron Hill's crab in the Fife and Forfar yeomanry. Chains tore through like a scythe. Germans couldn't believe it. Crocodiles hose NG nests in hedges flame jets, searing 150 yards. Fuel trailer safe behind armor. Germans bolt or burn. 80% surrender rate. AVREs fascinate gaps bundles of logs dropped to fill ditches. By Goodwood, Operation Bluecoat, funnies breach 100 miles of bocage. Can falls. Falaise pocket seals. Hobart watches from HQ, maps alive with black bull pins, losses low. ground gained. Patton races, but Brits hold the anvil, yet whispers grow. Monty sidelines 79th for regular fights, Crab's rustling. Croc's loan to Yanks. Hobart fumes. Funnies for breakthroughs, not slogging. A storm brews not weather, but brass. What Hobart overhears next will test every chain he forged. July 18th, 1944. Operation Goodwood. Dawn cracks over the Orne Flats east of Caen. Over 1,000 tanks, the largest armored assault since Kursk Rumble from British lines. 79th Funnies lead. Crabs flailing mine belts, crocodiles flaming tiger nests, AVREs fascinating craters. Sergeant Cotton's Crab again, chains devouring SS minefields near Cagney. Behind, Guards armored surges 7 miles first day. Panzer reel. But Monty fumes. Goodwood stalls 400 tanks lost to 88s and Luftwaffe. Public cries failure. Culprit? Hobart's toys mismanaged, says the field marshal. Brother-in-law or not, tension boils. Monty wants Funnies as support, not stars. Fighting division, Hobart insisted in 43. Now, engineering lackeys. Hobart protests. Specialists wasted in slugfests. Monty overrules. Loans Crocs to Yanks. Scatters Crabs. Private Rowe at 21st Army Group HQ. You meddle too much, Percy, Monty snaps. Hobart, unflinching. Use them right, or lose the war slower. Falaise Pocket, August 44. Payback. Funnies seal the trap arcs, bridge rivers. Flails clear paths. 50,000 Germans trapped, 10,000 dead, 50,000 captured. Normandy conquered. Monty relents. Honors Hobart publicly. But rift lingers 79th sidelined for Market Garden folly. Hobart grinds on. He crossed. Antwerp liberated Funnies first in. Bulge counteroffensive. Croy rout Ardennes panzers. V-Day. Hamburg falls to 79th. Hobart knighted KBE. Monty's toast. To the man who made the impossible routine. Legacy endures. Crabs evolved to Centurion BARVs. Vietnam, Falklands, Iraq flails pound mines. Combat engineer vehicles worldwide trace to Hobart's drum. 14,000 lives saved on D-Day beaches alone, per post-war tallies. Fortress Europe cracked by a farmer's mod. The laughter of engineers that April dawn, forgotten. Replaced by the thunder of chains that echoed to Berlin.